This story happened on Valentine's Day. I was dumped by my girlfriend at the time. The situation was aggravated by the fact that she lived across the street from me. So, drowning in bitterness and in a lousy mood, I decided to surf the web. I went to the discussions section and left a post. In it, I wrote my ex's address and labeled it, "Come here if you want to have fun." I sat there for a couple of minutes. No one answered me. I walked away from the laptop and decided to stop by the store. When I came back, I went back into discussions and saw that there were several replies under my post. I opened the thread with them and got a decent freak out. All 27 replies were from the same user who wrote, "Are you home?" Apparently, he thought that's why I myself lived at the address. I ignored his questions and went into the kitchen to make dinner. Then a clever idea popped into my head. I decided to play a trick on my ex and ordered a pizza to her address. I put on the form that payment would be cash on delivery. Let's just say I wanted to make her look stupid. About 45 minutes later, a car pulled up to her house with its lights off. It was late evening and it was dark out, so the car looked suspicious at least. I looked out the window and saw a man in all black get out of the car and head toward my ex's front door. I thought it was a delivery man, except he wasn't holding a pizza. I didn't think it was strange, but I didn't think much of it and moved away from the window. I didn't want my ex to open the door and see me, because she'd know I was playing a trick on her. The man rang the bell and my ex opened the door, and then something happened that made my blood boil. The stranger grabbed her by the hair and dragged her to the car. She screamed and fought back, but in vain. I opened the window and shouted, "Stop it now!" Then rushed to the first floor, but I didn't have time. By the time I ran out into the street, the man had climbed into the car with my ex-girlfriend and was speeding away. I ran out in front of the car, hoping the bastard would stop, but he hit me. I flew off to the side and pain shot through my body. I lay there helplessly, watching as the car picked up speed and was out of sight in a flash with the man and my ex inside. I lay like that until the real pizza delivery guy arrived. He called the police and an ambulance. I didn't let anyone know that I was the one who leaked her address. When the cops asked me what happened, I lied to them, saying I was just crossing the street and got hit and I didn't remember the license plate number. No one has seen my ex since, and I'm done with the dip web. To be honest, I originally wanted to tell you about what happened, but I was afraid that something bad might happen to me. Why? I'll answer. After the incident, I lay in the hospital trying to come to grips with the fact that my bad joke had led to something so tragic. My wounds were healing slowly, but I was far from regaining my composure. One day back home after a long rehab, I decided to put an end to my online adventures, but when I turned on my laptop, the screen opened right on that dip web track. A new message took me by surprise. "Thank you." That text pierced through me. The excitement and memories came back like a shadow, and I realized that perhaps it was gratitude for the events of that night, that perhaps I had become the instrument of someone's dark plans. Cautiously but determinedly, I decided to do my investigation. Wandering the dark corners of the internet, I discovered new dark aspects of the virtual world. Gradually, apart from fear, the determination to get to the bottom of the matter awakened in me. One day, doing my research, I found a closed forum with cryptocurrency transactions and strange orders. There I found a thread with a suspicious title, "Thanksgiving Debt." After reading a few posts, I realized that my ex was an accidental victim of unknown manipulators. Finding myself at the center of an online schemer felt like being caught in a spider's web. It was now my mission to expose this dark web in order to prevent similar occurrences. Fear, guilt, and determination mixed in a strange alchemy, and I set out on a journey through the dip web to unravel this dark mystery and perhaps find a way to save those trapped in this digital nightmare. With each new step in the abyss of dark networks, I felt the impact of this secret hoax growing. The boundaries between the virtual and the real became thinner and thinner, and I began to doubt that it was just the manipulation of dead digital data. One day, while analyzing cryptocurrency transactions, I was able to identify some key nodes leading to shell companies and false accounts. It turned out that behind these dark magnets was a global cybercrime organization. My ex was just another pawn in their dangerous game. Little by little, I was building a map of this dark labyrinth. I was able to connect the events involved in this intrigue and identify their goals. It turned out that at the center of it all was an extremely cynical plan to manipulate people by exploiting their own weaknesses and fears. In the course of my investigation, I encountered other victims whose stories were just as tragic. Families, like mine, had lost loved ones to digital threats. It was a challenge I couldn't answer, but I decided to. With the help of volunteers and cybersecurity experts who supported my initiative, we began to confront this shadowy organization. Each Deep Web post became more dangerous, but I knew there was a chance to change this game by exposing them. Eventually, our cybersecurity team was able to alert local and international law enforcement about the group's activities. A coordinated operation was launched to identify and neutralize the criminals. My nightly Deep Web sessions turned into a mission to rescue those who had fallen victim to this digital hell. Although the secret organization was exposed and some of its members arrested, my ex never returned. Life after that left an irreparable wound in my heart. And although I left the Deep Web, the arena of online adventure I became embroiled in has left its imprint forever. However, I now know that even in the virtual world, you can find heroes willing to fight for the light in the darkest corners of the internet. Months have passed since the operation, and the dark threats of the Deep Web have been partially mitigated. Life has returned to relative normality, but for me, recovery hasn't been going so smoothly. The breakup with my girlfriend, the loss of loved ones, and the mysterious disappearance of my ex continued to plague me. One day, while browsing the news on the internet, I came across an article about a new investigation. It turned out that part of the dark organization had been exposed, but not all of its members had been apprehended. Some of them remained at large, raising the stakes in this dangerous game. My heart sank when I read that my ex was one of those who had gone missing. It was an invasion of my safety that I didn't realize was happening. I was faced with a choice: return to the dangerous world of the Deep Web and search for her, or try to put it all behind me and start a new life. The difficult memories of a dark past beckoned to me, and I made a decision. I would not go it alone this time. I contacted members of our cybersecurity team who had remained in the shadows after the operation was over, and we decided to reopen the investigation. Diving into the Deep Web was even more dangerous and exciting than before. We were chasing trails, uncovering dark secrets, and figuring out the followers of this organization. I held myself accountable for every step, mindful that every mistake could turn tragic. With each passing day, we were getting closer to a clue. Eventually, our efforts led us to a hidden base where this dark cult was gathering its forces. We came face to face with them, and the virtual reality battle was decided in favor of the light. We called the police, giving them all the information we had gathered. The operation was successful, and many members of the organization were arrested. But my ex was not among them. She was involved in this darkness deeper than I could have imagined. The dark waves of the Deep Web encased her in its embrace, and I was left standing at the dawn of a new era. My ex remained missing, and though the mission of recovery was complete, she left me with a sense of dissatisfaction and the bitter realization that even the virtual world can consume the human soul.